Hey, welcome to another edition of Under the Influence. This is a show about storytelling and messages, not alcoholic beverages. I am your host, Aquan Robinson. Make sure you follow us on YouTube at Kari Creative. We're streaming live on Facebook, Under the Influence TV. You can also get a follow-up listen on Spotify for the audio podcast. If you got any questions, make sure you type it in, and we'll try to address them out through the show. Today we are broadcasting live from Crew on Mount Meigs. I want to give a shout out to the owner of this establishment, Mendel Brown, for allowing us to use this wonderful, wonderful location, this spot. Today, I am excited to introduce you to our guest. He is responsible for redesigning the Under the Influence branding, part of the Extend experience at the Crest Building downtown, DJ, promoter, all around good dude. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jake Pugh. How you doing? Claps,
good,
applause,
man. Good,
applause.
Appreciate y'all having me, man.
So hey, make sure I'm gonna make sure I got your social media right. So I'm gonna give you a shout out. Make sure you follow him at Always Chasing Music, and that's on all social media platforms.
Social media.
All right, and then we got at Gravity Party MGM on Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud.
SoundCloud.
Okay, all that too. So cool. So let's get right to it. So as a fellow music lover, right? My first question to you is, how'd you get into DJing, and how long have you been working on your craft?
Cool. It depends on how far you want to go back talking about that passion for music, you know.
Okay.
And grew up a music lover. My family was big into music. It's the story with a lot of DJs, you know, coming up. And I went through the gamut of genres through high school and college. And I was an emo kid in high school, loved punk rock music and that sort of thing, you know. And that emotionality of the music really spoke to me. And as I got older and began going to more live shows and that sort of thing, that was the music that I was drawn to, is that music with the emotional aspect to it and that sort of thing. And with the advent of all these streaming platforms, you began to have so much more control over the music that you had access to.
Yeah.
And building playlists and all that sort of thing in Spotify and SoundCloud. And about 7 or 8 years ago, a big group of friends of mine, we traveled together a lot, and we began to put together playlists specifically for experiences. Like if we had a 4 or 5 hour drive, we would put together a playlist in a specific order.
Okay.
So to like control the flow of that experience or whatever. Or like, you know, go to a concert, come home late night, getting ready for bed, taking the shower. You have that music that, you know, ends the night, call it parachute music. You know, it brings the energy of the night down or whatever. And so we began to think, well, what other experiences can we begin to soundtrack? And it just led very naturally into getting DJ equipment, throwing some small house parties and that sort of thing. And an opportunity came up to have an event where we play on our DJ equipment out and invite other people, and it worked. And
nice.
A few people came, and it's just grown to where we are now.
Cool. So why, you know, and you talked about soundtrack and stuff. So why is music important to you? Like, give me a little bit more detail on it.
Man, that is such a great question, and I think it's such a great question because it's so similar for a lot of people, and it can be so incredibly different for so many people. Like everybody has their own story, their own relationship with music, and for me, one of the most powerful aspects is the fact that music can become common ground for people who have totally different backgrounds, totally different cultures. Even music can speak to people in ways that they can't really even define.
Yep.
And I think that is what makes music such a powerful human force.
Nice. So educate us on the genre. So you got EDM, you got techno, you got house, and a lot of people kind of group it all into one. Are there distinct differences between?
There are, and evolving every day.
Okay.
It seems like too. So this is one that I'm excited for the opportunity to kind of put some information out there. So electronic dance music has gotten a bad rap in the past, and people are confused by what it means and that sort of thing, and the big high energy, huge festival scenes that you see when you think about EDM is very, very different than the underground dance club scene of, say, house music or that sort of thing. House and techno came from gay black clubs of Chicago and Detroit. This was music that was created to foster an environment, not necessarily to stimulate the individual. If that makes sense, right? So the music that I love and that I play at the parties that we throw is it's more down tempo than say EDM or techno. It has more organic sounds, a lot of bongo drums and Congo drums and that sort of thing. That kind of tribal feel is what I love in dance music, because it's so natural to dance to. You know, you see people that claim they can't dance, they're able to dance to that music. So to answer your question more appropriately, there, EDM is mainstream. It's like it's the pop music of dance music, right?
Okay.
Then techno is going to be a lot more repetitive. Techno came out of Detroit, and it kind of reflects that feel of that city. You know, the industry that was there. A lot of techno sounds are very mechanical, and you hear clangs and clacks in that thing in techno music a lot. It's very fast, 125 to 135, 140 BPM, so it's a little higher energy a lot of times than say house music. And house music on the other side, it was spawned from disco in Chicago. So a lot of the sounds that you'll hear in house music are jazzy or more instrumental or that sort of thing, a little more soulful, people say, than something like techno. So that's some of the kind of the key differences there. We could talk for 2 hours about that part. But
a lot of times when I hear house, I think of like DC is big. They got a big culture in DC with the house music and stuff. So thanks for clarifying that for the uninitiated.
Sure.
Right. All right. So when we spoke before the show, as we were prepping, you talked about the role that music plays in the progress of a city. So how can that concept help a city like Montgomery?
So this, to me, is kind of the crux of why I do what I do when it comes to these parties. We were those people who would say to our friends, I wish there was more to do in Montgomery. We were going to Atlanta, Nashville, Tampa, whatever, to go to the clubs that we wanted to go to and see the DJs, the international DJs that we wanted to see, because that wasn't going on here. Like, that music wasn't accessible here. But as we got educated on, like, it's not necessarily about the DJ. It's about the room. It's about the people and the energy and the love and all these benefits that can come from building a community. And as we learned to DJ, like I was saying before, we realized that we had the tools to do that here. And so the whole point of doing that was to affect this city in a positive way by bringing together the black community and the white community under the banner of a music that was not really owned by either one, if you know what I mean. Like, to find that common ground where we could bring people together, and the music that we play is it's so diverse and international that it can reach anyone and everyone. So point of that is, we wanted to offer something to this city that was outside of the norm. Every venue that we have here in this city has a role to play, and the owners and the people that go there are all part of this mesh, this network of nightlife that is the breathing heart and soul of a city. There's a Japanese term that I'm failing to remember right now, but basically the term means third place, a place that's not your home and it's not your work. And that third place is some of the most culturally relevant places, because those are the places where people feel that they can be themselves. And that's when people can really connect. When you can let your guard down in an environment where you can be yourself, it fosters growth.
So tell us more about your business, about Gravity.
Okay. So when we got that first gig, that first opportunity to play out, we were like, well, if we're going to promote this thing, let's name it. So we thought about the idea of, drawing a community together, Gravity, that sort of thing. And so we just stuck a name on it and said, let's try it. That was what we put on the flyer, kind of a couple of small details there, but left it a little bit ambiguous. And as it grew, that idea kind of took legs there. So we actually filed for a business license for Gravity, all set up there, liability insurance, like liquor license, the whole thing. We're in the process of doing that now. But the whole point of it is not to make a career out of it, right? The whole point of this thing is to build a community here, and that's what Gravity is to us.
Nice.
It's a home base for gathering people of all kinds to come together and try something new.
So how'd you get connected with 21 Dreams and Kalanja over there?
So I came to Montgomery to go to AUM for a fine arts school. I got a degree in graphic design here, so I always kind of paid attention to the art scene, and in some ways an artist myself. And I just follow what's going on, and I got to seeing some of the things that Kalonji was posting, some events that 21 Dreams had going on. So I just sent him a message on Facebook. It was like, hey man, I respect what you're doing. I want to support in any way I can. If it's coming to events or playing an event or whatever, any way I can help support what you're doing, man, I want to do it. No strings attached. Nice. And he responded in kind. And for about a year and a half, 2 years now, we just check in with each other occasionally on Facebook. Hey man, how are things going? Blah blah blah. And we just kind of started coming up with some ways we could actually work together with this project to do some of the graphics for this, and he wanted me to come on the show and talk about what we're doing with Gravity, so here we are.
Yeah, awesome. Again, glad to have you. So, the elephant in the room, COVID-19, yeah. Right? How has it affected your efforts, and what does the future of Gravity look like?
So it's pretty weird right now. We went from an event, at least one event every week, to nothing. We've done nothing. We've done a couple of live streams, but as of right now, we have no plans for throwing an event anytime soon. We're kicking around some ideas as far as something open air, maybe some park parties this fall or maybe in the spring, but we realize that we have to come last in a lot of ways when it comes in nightlife. So we're trying to be humble and patient about doing it, not when we're comfortable doing it, but when the culture is comfortable with moving forward on nightlife. And so that's kind of where we are. We are working on some new ideas for live streams. We're doing one a week from Saturday, so if you go follow us on our socials, you'll see that event pop up. But gonna start probably hosting a few private parties and then transition into parties where we actually sell tickets, which is something we've never done before, pre-selling tickets. One, to kind of get commitment to actually come, and then to be able to control the door so that we know who's actually attending. We can record information so that if somebody does get sick, we can reach out and contact the people. So we're digging into like the ways to responsibly run an event where you have 25, then 30, then 50, then 100 people and that sort of thing. So it's taken some additional planning, but it's been really useful for us. And current events have been really weird in a lot of ways, and
most definitely
it's challenged us all in a lot of ways. And we've been challenged to walk the walk a little bit, because we said in the beginnings, like, we want to connect with the Black community and we want to bring these people together, right? And then with the racial aspects of current events, we've been challenged to, hey, what are you doing? Like, how are you being an ally to the Black community? Like, these are the questions I've been asking myself. And to go to one rally is good, but how are we investing in our community to build a future where that allyship becomes genuine and authentic and real and sustainable and that sort of thing. So those are the questions that we're asking ourselves, and I think the future is bright for us and for the city, and people like Kalonji and you guys that are putting these things together, man. This is what it takes. This is the spark where the flame starts.
Well, hey, we appreciate it. We appreciate you, playing your part and contributing to the overall culture and growth of the community as well. So, producer KG, we got any questions out there from the audience?
All right, so we have, what is your favorite, who's your favorite DJ?
All right, cool. That's a good question. Gosh, so many DJs, so many genres. Like, I could name several. But I'll toss one out there if anybody feels like looking it up. It's a cat named Yokoo, Yokoo. And this guy's Australian-born, raised in France. I think he lives in Portugal now. He's just traveled the world, every nook and cranny, every good club in the world he's played there. And his style is very, very fluid, and it has aspects of funk music that I really love. Like, I love soul and funk from the 70s, man. It's like one of my favorite feel-good music, you know? And he finds elegant ways to bring that sound into house music and techno music. And it's just really, really brilliant, man. It's just spans the gamut there.
You got any more questions out there?
Well, I actually have one. I know that you have like the streaming shows like on Spotify and what have you.
We haven't tapped into Spotify yet. We're streaming on.
No, it's a SoundCloud.
We're actually doing our live streams on Twitch. We do have a series of recorded podcasts on SoundCloud. We call it Transmission, and I think like a sound transmission from. So we're tapping into our DJ friends from around the Southeast to contribute mixes for us to put on there, and that's been cool, man. So hearing how different people interpret in the COVID era Like dance music, you know, almost in retrospect, nobody's playing events right now, so the music has kind of lost its context. So it's interesting to see how people from all over are contributing to something like that. So cool, worth checking out.
And then I know we was talking beforehand how your music has changed. Will you talk a little bit about that? How COVID has affected like some of your sound?
Yeah. That's a good one. I'm glad you brought that up. So the music that we're talking about here is incredibly contextual. I mean, it's music that's intended for people to gather in a room and dance together. No, you can't do that right now, right? So that context has been removed. The experiential aspect has been removed. So I've found it a little bit hard as an artist to get in the studio and work on producing this music or work on creating new mixes for this music because the context isn't there. The motivation. I think that's one thing that a lot of people are struggling with COVID right now is like you have that guilt that you're not being productive with this free time that you have now or this time that you're not traveling or not working in the office or whatever. But man, you just got to follow your path as an artist because things are gonna come and go like this where you have to question that thing. So the point is, with that context now gone, the music that I'm listening to right now has kind of changed. I'm listening to more down-tempo music, more minimal music because I'm in my home. I'm in my space. You know, I got my warm lights on and that sort of thing. I got my pets with me. You know, like I got my wife there snuggling with me. Like so, I'm not listening to 125 BPM techno and house music that I would be dancing to in the club. It's just the context changes there. So, and that's kind of the DNA of being a DJ. You know, a DJ's job is not to be technical with what they're doing or to make it about themselves. A good DJ matches the sounds with the environment and runs that razor's edge between responding to the environment and creating the environment. So thinking about music that way through this experience, and you know, this is coming to me as I'm experiencing it right now, but that's part of being a DJ and learning your relationship with the music.
Yep. And then you know, being able to feel that energy from the crowd makes a huge difference too. So you can't really effectively do that if you don't have that connection with the people that you're catering to. Right. So that's gonna be we run a little over time, but we're gonna get ready to wrap it up here in a little bit. I want to thank the Alabama State Council of the Arts for gifting us with a grant as we continue to build the show and building this platform for the community. Jake is gonna get ready to do a.
We didn't even get to talk about it.
Yeah. He ready. So before we
gotta talk about it first, Jake.
Hey, I'm ready.
What's going on?
Before we sign off, Jake is gonna do us a little set here. So we gonna get ready to transition to that. And I'm gonna say a few words before I let Jake go do his thing. And actually, I guess I already said it. If you want to go ahead and set up, so we can work on that. But I want to say rest in peace to Mac Dillingham, who passed away suddenly this week. Mac was a dope photographer who really elevated the level of photography in Montgomery. So prayers to his family. We appreciate everything that you did, and your influence will be missed. And so as we get ready to sign off, I got a little quote that I want to say. So we've got the responsibility to influence people in our lives to be the best possible people that they can be. And so therefore encourage one another and build each other up every chance we get. So with that, we're gonna get ready to transition to Jake, let him do his thing.